the second of our pain podcast. Myself, Cece Campo, and on my other side is Mr. Randy Edwards. And today we're going to talk about inflammation, the causes of inflammation, what basically inflammation is, and then treatments, holistic treatments for inflammation, including vitamins, supplements, foods that are wonderful in the means of treating inflammation. So I'm going to start talk a little bit about an article. I've got actually two articles that I pulled that I thought were very useful that kind of summarizes what inflammation is, what acute versus chronic inflammation is, as well as the holistic approaches to treating inflammation. So let's start with what is inflammation? We hear this word and we maybe don't really know what that is. And so you probably experienced inflammation with the heat of having a fever. So that's one form. So the swelling of an injured knee, that's another sign of inflammation where, or the redness around, let's say, a cut that you have. That's all what we call healthy inflammation. That's your body's immune response that's triggered when your body is either injured or it's exposed to chemicals or toxins, or it's invaded by bacteria or viruses or parasites. So acute inflammation is necessary. When we talk about acute inflammation, it's your body's healthy immune response. What happens is it becomes harmful to you when it becomes chronic. So it's starting to occur repeatedly. So chronic inflammation, and this is reviewed from Dr. Sharon Stills, who is an NMD. It can disrupt your life. It increases the risk of various health issues that you might have, including autoimmune disease, heart disease, and even cancer. So we know that since acute inflammation is your body's healthy response, when that inflammation occurs persistently over a long period of time and it starts to attack the healthy body tissues, that's what we consider chronic inflammation. It is linked to several chronic diseases, including arteriosclerosis, diabetes, and arthritis. And I myself have some arthritis, as I'm sure some of our viewers have, so they're probably very well aware of the effects of inflammation on the body. So what causes it? It's actually multifaceted, the causes of chronic inflammation. It includes things like poor nutrition. It can be lack of exercise. There may be genetic factors involved, especially with things like arthritis, exposure to toxins, emotional trauma, as well as chronic stress. So women with chronic inflammation often show elevated levels of specific pro-inflammatory markers. And so you've probably heard things like your body producing cortisol. And so that's part of the response to stress in your body. So what are some of the symptoms? The symptoms can be fatigue. You can have aches and pains in your body, depression, anxiety, congestion, which I didn't realize congestion could be a form of that, but it can. Dry eyes, digestive issues, skin problems, and gum disease, and even stubborn weight gain. So what do you do to combat your chronic inflammation, but do it naturally? Well, there's several vitamins as well as supplements that are recommended to really help with alleviating some of the chronic inflammation in your body. First one that you probably have heard about is omega-3 fatty acids. So they're found in fatty fish, so salmon is a good one, and supplements, and they actually help reduce those inflammation or inflammatory molecules in your body. Then you have turmeric, which is also known as curcumin. It's actually a spice. It inhibits your pro-inflammatory molecules, and it's effective when you actually put a little black pepper in with it. So when you see some of the supplements for inflammation, you notice that with turmeric that they're always including the black pepper. And what that does is it helps your body absorb it better. So that's why they include that in those supplements. Then you have green tea. This contains something called catechins or catechins. Not sure how to exactly pronounce it, but they also inhibit those inflammatory enzymes. So green tea is a great one. Ginger or ginger root, that contains compounds that reduce inflammation. It's beneficial for arthritis. Actually, I have a lot of that in my diet. Boswellia, which is an Indian frankincense, and these inhibit pro-inflammatory molecules and also very, very useful for arthritis as well as asthma. So let's see. Then we have vitamin D. Now, vitamin D reduces those pro-inflammatory mediators and increases the cytokines, which is what you want to increase in your body, that helps fight off the inflammation. And then probiotics, which helps with your gut health. So gut health is super important for balancing the body. So probiotics help reduce those inflammation biomarkers. There, on top of this, there's also additional things that you can do, lifestyle changes, etc. But what about, let's say, some foods? So let's talk a little bit about the foods that you can utilize to help with inflammation. One of the first ones that is, what's high in fatty acids, what's high in antioxidants. You hear that term antioxidants a lot of times. So these are definitely foods that you want to start including in your diet to help relieve some of that inflammatory response. So dark leafy green vegetables, things like spinach, chard, etc. They're very high in antioxidants. Then you have fruits. There's colorful fruits, especially. So the intense color is usually a sign that it has a lot of fiber and antioxidants. So you can look for the dark blue ones, which are things like blackberries, plums, grapes. The bright red ones, which are going to be oranges. And then you have the yellows like apples, papaya, and pineapple. And then we've already mentioned this one, but ginger and turmeric, they also include in those foods. Another one is nuts. Now, nuts like walnuts, almonds, they are very great for inflammation. They're also great for your heart. And they usually have a high amount of what we call healthy fats in them, as opposed to the saturated fats. So these would be your monosaturated and your polysaturated fats. And along with that, it also has those omega-3s in it as well. Then green tea. Green tea is a really good one. It's another inflammatory response. It also helps decrease arthritis pain. And they have done a study on this for using green tea with arthritis and pain that comes from arthritis. Chia seeds and flax seeds is also a very good one. They are both high in omega-3 fatty acids. And then fatty fish, which we kind of spoke about. So fishes like sardines, salmon, tuna are one of the higher ranked ones with those omega-3 fatty acids. And last but not least are beans. Beans are also very good, very high in fiber content, and they're very rich in antioxidants as well. So these are just some of uh, the ideas that you can use going forward. Either you're including those supplements, or you can include some of these natural foods and spices and teas, and such, to help alleviate some of that chronic inflammation that you have in your body that might be contributing to your arthritis, contributing to some of the pain that you have in your joints, that inflammatory response that your body is dealing with due to some of these factors in your life. So with that, I was going to turn this over to Randy to talk a little bit about, he's got a wonderful recipe, a smoothie recipe that includes some of these inflammatory, anti-inflammatory vitamins, minerals, and fruits that he includes in his smoothie drink.
Um, I mean, I drink green tea like it's going out of style,
Yeah.
like a pitcher a day. Usually I'm making a pitcher almost every day. And I read somewhere, I'd have to look it up, that I mean, I know the ginger and turmeric together help with inflammation,
Yes.
but I'm pretty sure I read that also, like the black pepper, the ginger helps the
Yeah.
body use the turmeric.
Absorb it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why you definitely see, especially with turmeric, you see a lot of the supplements, including that black pepper. And I always wondered, it's like, why are they including this? And the black pepper in itself helps that body kind of open up those receptors to absorb it better in your body. Um, which I thought was really interesting how that worked. So when you do see some of those supplements, you may want to look and see if it's including the black pepper so that you have a better absorption rate for it.
And I've been drinking this smoothie now for what, about 6 weeks. And I stole it from Tom Brady, but they have it out on the internet. I didn't go like take it out of his program that you're supposed to be paying for. And
Right.
but as you can see, here the ingredients are 1 cup of oat milk. I use almond milk instead of the oat milk, but I think it's just you don't want to use the fatty cow milk. Cow milk.
Right. Right.
2 cups of frozen pineapple chunks, a banana. I freeze my banana too. A tablespoon of fresh turmeric grated, and 1 tablespoon of fresh ginger grated.
Sounds like a good combination of things. And I like that you do your frozen bananas because that gives the smoothie that consistency that's so nice to have. I think if you put a raw banana in and then blend that up, it gets kind of lumpy and so
Well,
definitely, yeah.
the if you're not a big fan of ginger, on the Tom Brady smoothie recipe, as you can see, it says or 1/3 teaspoon ground ginger. So
Right, right.
I'm sure when you first start drinking the 1 tablespoon, it is the first smoothie I had is like that's about all I can taste with the ginger, but you get used to it. It's crazy by like
Yeah.
your second or third smoothie. It's like you really don't notice it. And then I noticed on there 1 tablespoon fresh ginger, uh,
Or the
grated, or
ground,
1/3
yeah,
teaspoon ground. Oh, it's grated or ground, or 1/3 teaspoon ground ginger. Okay, I see
yeah,
it. And then
yeah,
a scoop of vanilla. It says a scoop of vanilla TB12. I would just use if you don't want to buy the TB12 plant-based protein, just get some kind of organic protein. Um,
yep.
and
And yeah, and I know that like I have one that I use actually have it with my oatmeal in the morning. And there's so many great ones that are out there that are plant-based, very good, holistic. I think the one that I've been using was by a company called Four Sigmata, and it's a vanilla protein powder that has a really nice flavor to it. It also has a lot of those adaptogenic mushrooms that are in it that are very supported for the body for different things.
right,
And definitely, I would love to talk about like maybe make one segment talking a little bit about those adaptogens and kind of how those work as well.
I think that would be a
But
good.
yeah, yeah, I think that's like a new kind of one of the newer things that is coming up is working with the different mushroom groups and kind of how they work, and they're very effective for anti-inflammatories, for um, uh, basic gut health, for stress relief. There's so many combinations of them that work really well, but there are just a huge amount of proteins to choose from that just, finding one, like I said, what you had mentioned, having plant-based ones,
And
probably,
not a
and I
lot
know
of
some people,
sugar, you know.
right. And I like that you're using the almond milk because I started reading a little bit more. I do drink some milk, but some people can't have milk because they have uh, that allergy to the less than, and so they have to go with something else. And I believe the oat milk is just a little higher in the sugar content than some of the other milks that are out there that are plant-based. So, it's kind of a try what makes best sense for you, try the ones that taste best for you. And if, regulars maybe skim or 1% milk, you can probably go with that. But if that's something you can't do, then you've got a whole selection of plant-based milks that you can also choose from.
I switched to almond milk probably at least close to 10 years ago, I guess. I just saw it, in the store and and it didn't take long to get used to it all. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, it's really tasty. I like it. I like
Now I don't
almond
really
milk a
like
lot.
regular milk anymore. Can't tell you the last time I drank regular milk. But anyway, as far as inflammation, I have a funny story this week. So I live out in the country. Cece knows that, but there was a drainage ditch out front, and I was taking my trash can out. And it was dark. There was no moon that night, so you couldn't see anything. And I got too close to the edge
Oh
and fell
no.
off in the drainage ditch, trash can on top of me. I was embarrassed. Of course, nobody saw it because it's
Nobody saw it.
dark and it was
Oh
late.
boy.
And you know, people across the street could have seen it, but I mean, there's only two houses where anybody could have probably seen it, but it was still embarrassing. And there was a little inflammation internally. It felt like in my back
That was the
yesterday.
acute inflammation.
Yeah.
Your body's natural response.
So feeling a little better today though. So
Oh gosh.
I
Well,
stretched and everything yesterday. Iced it as soon as I came in. I iced it. So
yep. Yep. Rest ice compression elevation.
anyway, yeah. I mean, we really do what we. I mean, we don't. We're just not flapping our gums. We actually practice what we preach. So
Yep.
anyway, and we said this before last week. You said it. It's the more of these natural things you combine, the more it's going to help. Like you can't just like start thinking you can start taking turmeric and you're going to be cured. Somebody might, but
Yep.
if you've got if you're like a chronic pain patient with something ongoing, probably combine as many as you can. And cleaning up the diet, I think, is
That's huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
huge.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about um, processed foods and how bad they are for you, and trying to get what we call whole foods, where you're getting the most of the content of that food, fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. And like we said, things like leafy green vegetables, brightly colored fruits, blueberries, strawberries, things like that. Just the way your body processes them without all of these additional chemicals and additives that are included in processed foods, as well as how they're treating the foods when they're making their products, is also can be very detrimental, and where you lose a lot of the natural vitamins and minerals from those grains, or those different fruits or vegetables. Once they're processed, unfortunately, because they're not considered a whole vegetable or whole fruit or whole grain, you lose a lot of that really beneficial content of those vitamins and minerals that you would normally get. So,
And if you think, I mean, I'm sure it can probably seem daunting to like think about cleaning up your whole diet and added supplements and vitamins, but just try doing. I mean, what I did, what you were talking about, the whole eating more whole foods, is I just started taking things, and I've always ate pretty clean, but I did take shortcuts. So I just slowly started cleaning things out. And it doesn't mean never, you can't ever have, it's something you love, like, but if it's ever once in a while, it's not going to bother you as much as like
Yeah,
if you're eating a bunch of this crap every day, it's going to bother you a lot. Your body's going to respond negatively to it
right.
more so than
Right. So, if some of the culprits, one of the biggest culprits is sugar and learning how to, at least limit some of the sugar in your body. If you take sugar in, make that sugar come from your fruits, from more of a natural and pure source as opposed to that added sugar that you usually see um, contained in a lot of the processed foods. And so that really helps. I think but that's probably for me, that was one of the biggest culprits because I do have a sweet tooth. I like, sweet foods. So finding things that were naturally sweetened and then looking at my diet to see how many grams of sugar are in the foods I'm eating and trying to limit that or pairing it with a protein because when you eat a protein versus when you eat a sugar and you eat a protein, your glycogen levels, your glucose levels basically go up very, when you have straight sugar, it's very fast and then it just drops. And sometimes it drops lower than where you started from. Whereas when you have protein, it's a very slow rise and it's a stable rise. So if you're having, something with sugar and content and it have something with protein so that your blood sugar level isn't rising and falling constantly, and that's where you get that kind of sugar crash that you've probably heard about. So and that's one of the a big culprit of inflammation is the amount of sugar in your diet. So that's definitely something to be aware of.
and there's a lot of processed foods with sugar, so you're getting a double whammy. And
Yep.
our bodies didn't evolve with the earth to take in processed foods.
Yeah, it
They're
did
meant to
not.
take in whole food.
Right. So well, that's what I had today. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Not today.
Okay.
That'll do it. We haven't talked about what we're going to talk about next week.
That's true. That's true. So I know we did kind of like starting to talk a little bit about inflammation. Um, do we want to stay on the inflammation path and maybe talk about
Sure.
other ways to treat inflammation slash pain? I could probably talk a little bit about some of the cold therapy, the cryotherapy. Definitely look into that, and that can be one. So I can start uh, teeing that up and getting that information together.
I've been doing cryotherapy for quite a while. Uh, we talked about ice baths and some other things too.
Yep, yep, yep. So I can talk a little bit about cryo. Very familiar with it, and I love it. I think it's great. Um, there there's that. There's also you talked about ice baths and like taking cold showers in the morning and how
Right.
that can help your body. Absolutely. And then I've been doing some research, and I know we talked a little bit about this, and maybe we can save this for an episode in itself about the uh, doing massage or lymphatic drainage massage and what the lymphatic system is, how it works, and the effectiveness of learning to process those toxins out of your body through that lymphatic massage. It can be done by a person that does that and has been trained in it, but you can also do some of that yourself. And that is very beneficial for inflammation as well. So that can be maybe the fourth episode if you want to talk about that. So
Sure.
it sounds like we've got a couple topics coming up. So no shortage of topics.
Oh, or pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, all right. Well, it's good to see you, and
You too.
we'll see y'all next week.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everyone for coming.